5. I'm 83. My Amish husband didn't speak to me for 3 nights after our wedding. 3 nights. That's how long my husband goes without speaking to me after our wedding, though the first sound I remember is not his voice. It's the bed rope creaking under his weight, while frost whitens the bottom of the window, and the kerosene lamp leaves black smoke on the chimney glass. I lie beneath a quilt stitched with crooked blue stars, wearing a nightdress that smells of lye soap and cedar. My feet are cold. My face is hot. Beside me, Eli keeps rubbing the seam of his left sleeve as if there's an answer hidden there. He says one sentence, then nothing. I remember it was Thursday. No, wait. The wedding was Thursday. This is Friday morning, because Jacob Miller's wagon rattles past before dawn, and the right wheel clicks twice near our gate. By breakfast, Eli won't look at me. By supper, he leaves his plate half full. By the second night, I'm sure I've failed at something no woman ever explained. But nobody asks why my hands shake over the milk pail, or why my new husband sleeps facing the wall. That's the thing nobody tells you. Silence can bruise a marriage before either person knows what happened, and the sentence Eli finally speaks on the 4th morning changes how I understand all 3 nights. I am 18 then. I'm 83 now. Quick pause. My name is Sarah, and this is Rebecca Amish Home. If these stories stay with you, if they make you feel less alone, subscribe. It's free, and it lets me keep telling them. Tell me in the comments, what happens when silence replaces trust? And if you want to go further, a super chat or a membership says these voices are worth hearing. That keeps this going. Now, back to what happened. In our district, a good girl entered marriage knowing how to bake 12 loaves at once, how to turn a collar so the worn edge faced inward, and how to lower her eyes when the bishop spoke. She was not meant to know what happened after the bedroom door shut. The Ordnung never had a line that said, "Keep your daughters ignorant." It didn't need one. We heard Ephesians read beneath the hiss of the gas lamps, and we learned that a wife yielded, a husband led, and private things stayed private. Nobody sat me down and gave me that rule. I knew it from the way Mama folded the newspaper over a medicine advertisement, from the way older girls stopped talking when I carried beans into the summer kitchen, from the little cough Aunt Lena made whenever a bride looked frightened. Here is the part that still catches in my throat. I had helped deliver calves since I was 9, but at 18, I knew less about my own body than I knew about a cow's. The rule followed us into small things. A girl with a monthly stain on her apron was handed a sweater and sent home without one woman saying the word for what had happened. When my cousin Ruth asked why married women sometimes cried during washing day, her mother pinched bread dough hard enough to split the skin across one knuckle and said, "Some burdens make us holy." I nearly asked Mama that night what kind of burden she meant. I stood beside the pantry door with my finger on a chip of green paint, listening to her spoon scrape the bottom of the bean pot. But she looked tired, and I swallowed it. That's how the rule stayed strong. No threats, just the look that told you a question could shame your mother, your husband, maybe God himself. So by the time Eli's silence filled our new house, I didn't think to ask whether the silence was fair. I only searched myself for the sin that had caused it. 3 weeks before the wedding, my sister Miriam pulled me behind the smokehouse, while Mama and Aunt Lena counted jars of chow chow on the cellar steps. Miriam was 23. No, 24. I always get that wrong because she married in her 23rd year and had Anna before her next birthday. She held both my wrists and said 11 words. "Don't fight him, Sarah. It goes easier when you stay still." 11. I counted them later while shelling peas into a white enamel bowl with a red rim. That was my preparation. Eli got even less. His older brother Samuel slapped his shoulder after Sunday singing and told him, "You'll know what to do." He didn't. Neither of us did. People saw 2 young adults ready to build a home. I see two children carrying quilts, hymn books, and instructions made mostly of blank space. I trusted Eli because he was gentle in ways nobody praised. When my mare, Daisy, threw a shoe near the Miller farm, he walked her 3 miles home instead of riding in Jacob's wagon, because he said the stones would cut her hoof. During singings, he never pushed to sit too close. He passed me the peppermint dish with his right hand, because his left palm had a fresh blister from splitting oak, and he didn't want me to see him wince. I loved him. I think I loved him. I don't know if I knew what love was yet, but my whole chest softened when he laughed. He was nervous before the wedding, too. I remember him outside the harness shop, pulling at the seam of his left sleeve. It was Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, because the bakery window was fogged, and 3 pans of cinnamon rolls were cooling inside. He looked at me and said, "We'll be kind, won't we?" I said yes. We both meant it. The days before the wedding were full of useful things. Women brought sheets, lamp oil, 2 crocks, and a broom with red thread tied around the handle so everyone knew it was new. Mama showed me how to stretch soup with potatoes. Aunt Lena explained which neighbor owned a phone for emergencies. Miriam told me Eli liked his coffee weak and his eggs hard. Nobody told me fear could make the body close like a fist. Nobody told me a husband could mistake that fear for disgust. Nobody told him silence could feel like punishment, even when he meant it as restraint. On Wednesday evening, I packed my blue dress beneath a stack of towels and found a sprig of dried lavender Mama had tucked between them. I held it to my nose until the little buds broke against my lip. Then she came in, saw it in my hand, and said, "You'll do fine." Her voice cracked on fine. I heard it. I just didn't know why. Our bedroom is smaller than the milk room at home. A kerosene lamp burns on a washstand made from apple wood, and its flame leans whenever wind slips through the loose frame around the east window. The quilt has blue stars, one of them stitched backward near my left knee. Outside, a horse stamps in the lean-to, the iron shoe striking frozen dirt with a dull, patient knock. I'm wearing the white nightdress Mama sewed, the one with 3 pearl buttons, even though the top loop is too tight. The room is cold enough that my breath shows when I turn toward the glass, but sweat gathers beneath my braid. Eli sits on the edge of the bed, boots off, gray socks still on, rubbing that sleeve seam again. He looks older in the wedding photographs. Here, with his hair flattened on one side and a nick from shaving beneath his chin, he looks like a lost boy who has been handed a locked door and told it is his duty to open it. He clears his throat. I hear the tiny click in it, then the stove settling in the front room, then nothing. Miriam said I begin, but I don't know how to finish because saying stay still feels like telling him I'm already gone. He turns and asks, "Did she tell you?" I nod, even though she didn't, not really. His hands rest flat on his knees. Mine are knotted in the nightdress, twisting the cloth until the pearl button presses a round mark into my palm. "Are you afraid of me?" he asks. I say no too fast. He looks down. "Then why are you shaking?" I want to answer, but the thing is, I don't know. My teeth touch once, a small click. He reaches toward me and stops halfway. I move closer because I love him, and farther away because every part of me is begging for time. Both things are true. His hand moves. I stop breathing. He touches my shoulder first, so lightly the lace barely shifts, and says, "Sarah?" I nod again. That nod becomes the only answer either of us knows how to ask for. When he kisses me, my jaw locks, and my fingers grip the quilt seam. "Am I hurting you?" he whispers. "No," I say, because Miriam said it went easier when you stayed still, and because I think pain must be proof that I'm doing marriage correctly. He tries to come closer. My body pulls back before I decide to move, and the iron bed frame knocks once against the wall. He freezes. You don't want me. It isn't a question, I say. I'm trying. He hears refusal. I mean fear. He turns away so quickly the mattress rope groans beneath us. He isn't cruel. I need you to understand that. He is ashamed, and I am terrified. And shame and terror speak two different languages in the dark. For a long time, neither of us moves. The lamp makes a soft popping sound, and a black fleck floats inside the chimney glass like a trapped moth. Eli finally says, I won't trouble you again. Those are the words, not the sentence from the fourth morning that comes later, but these are the words that close the room. I want to reach for his shoulder. I don't. He blows out the lamp, and the smell of hot kerosene spreads between us. My body aches from holding itself rigid, though almost nothing has happened. That's the thing nobody tells you. The body can carry the weight of what did not happen too. I find a loose blue thread near the backward star and pull it until the stitch opens. In the morning, Eli carries water, feeds the horse, and sets my cup beside the stove without meeting my eyes. By supper, his silence has become another wall in the house, and I start building myself smaller to fit inside it. The plain fact is this: neither of us understood that fear could exist beside love, or that stopping to talk would not ruin a marriage. Eli had been taught that a good wife would welcome him, so when I shook and pulled away, he believed I had judged him unworthy. I had been taught that a good wife endured without complaint, so when he went quiet, I believed I had failed a test every other woman had passed. For 3 nights he slept facing the wall, leaving a strip of cold mattress between us wide enough for my forearm. He still chopped kindling. He still warmed my boots near the stove. He just didn't speak. On the second afternoon, I dropped a crock lid because my hands wouldn't stop trembling, and the crack ran through the painted brown flour. I hid it behind the flour bin. No one had told either of us that kindness without words can still leave a bruise you cannot show. What was missing wasn't only knowledge of bodies. We didn't know there could be questions between a husband and wife that didn't accuse either one. I didn't know I could say, I'm frightened, but I trust you. He didn't know he could say, I'm hurt, but I'll wait. He wasn't trying to punish me. That's what makes it worse. He thought giving me silence was giving me space, while I heard each quiet hour as a verdict. The silence wasn't born in our bedroom. It had been passed down at sewing tables, in barns, beneath Sunday sermons, through mothers who had never been given words themselves. Years later, I learned one plain sentence that would have changed those nights. A body can need safety before it can welcome touch. But on the fourth morning, all we had was weak coffee, a cracked crock hidden behind flour, and Eli finally turning toward me with tears sitting in his lashes. I thought you hated me, Eli says. His voice is rough, as if he has been swallowing ashes. The coffee has a skin on top, and the stove door hangs open, showing one red coal. I stare at that coal when I tell him, I thought you were ashamed of me. He wipes his eyes with the heel of his hand and laughs once, but there is no joy in it. I was ashamed of me. We sit there until the horse begins kicking the stall door for feed. Then Eli reaches across the table for the cracked crock lid beside the flour bin. He studies the split flour and says, We can mend this. I know he means more than the crock. I want to believe him. I do believe him. But belief is not the same as knowing how. I learn to watch his shoulders. If they sit high beneath his shirt, I keep my questions small. I would polish the lamp chimney twice, even when it was already clear, because rubbing soot from glass gave my hands somewhere to go. By the time our first daughter is born, I can feel a silence forming before Eli says a word. That becomes my little survival system. Count the blue plates, fold the towels in thirds, breathe only when the clock ticks. Quiet work for a quiet wife. There is dark humor in it now. I thought I was the only woman measuring danger by the angle of a man's hat on a peg. Turns out that was our district's best-selling lie. Eli and I have tender years too. He rubs my feet when they swell. He sings to the baby off-key. Still, when hurt enters the room, we both become 18 again. At quilting one February, Ruth sits across from me, beneath a ceiling stain shaped like Ohio. Snowmelt taps into a bucket near the stove, plink plink, while 8 women stitch burgundy diamonds into a wedding quilt. Ruth's needle stops. She says, "Does Amos ever go quiet?" 7 words. I prick my thumb so hard a red bead rises through the cloth. "Men get tired," Aunt Lena says before I can answer. Ruth nods, but she does not look at Aunt Lena. She looks at me. Her left eye is swollen from crying, and she has dusted flour over the skin to pale it. I almost say, "Eli went silent for 3 nights. My mouth even opens. Then someone lifts the bucket, the tapping stops, and the whole room seems to hear the words I have not said. Miriam's story comes out in pieces during washing day, never in one clean confession. She is wringing one of Anna's small dresses, yellow with 2 missing buttons, when she says, "Samuel thinks I'm cold." I ask what she means, though I know. She twists the cloth until water runs over her wrists. "I leave myself," she says. Then she smiles, because Aunt Lena is walking toward us with a basket of socks. 2 years later, Miriam tells the deacon's wife that she feels dread when Samuel reaches for her, and the woman gives her valerian tea in a blue jar and says a wife's peace comes through obedience. Miriam drinks it every night for 4 months. It makes her sleepy. It does not make her safe. Questions in our world were like smoke in a closed room. Everyone smelled them. Nobody opened a window. By our 3rd year, I understand that Eli and I are not unusual. We are merely quiet. The pattern softens, but it does not vanish. Eli learns to ask, "Are you with me?" And I learn to say, "Not yet." Those 3 words feel wild the first time, almost rude. We laugh afterward, because my voice comes out as a squeak, and he says I sound like the pantry hinge. But you learn. We build a marriage out of small repairs. A hand pulled back, a question asked twice, an apology spoken before Sunday. We have 6 children, lose 1 baby in winter, plant pear trees along the south fence, and grow old enough that our wedding night becomes a story we still cannot tell. Eli dies at 79 with my palm under his cheek and his gray sock half off 1 foot. He was a good man. He was also a hurt boy for much of his life. Both are true. That's the thing nobody tells you. I am 76 when I first see the word consent printed beside a drawing of 2 open hands. I am sitting in a clinic waiting room outside Lancaster, wearing a navy coat my daughter Rebecca bought at a thrift shop because the zipper on mine no longer meets. A pamphlet rests beneath a plastic fern, its corner bent under a magazine about blood pressure. I pick it up because the hands look kind. The sentence says that consent must be freely given, clear, and ongoing. My ears begin to ring. The room smells of orange cleaner and burnt coffee. I read the line again, then again. My knees press together so hard they ache. There is no thunder. Just 12 plain words, and an old woman realizing her body had been speaking a language nobody taught her husband to hear. A counselor named Helen draws 3 circles on a yellow pad the next week. 1 is fear, 1 is duty, 1 is choice. She shows me how the circles had been stacked on top of one another until I could not tell them apart. I am not angry, I wish I were. Anger has heat, and heat can move. I am only sad, devastatingly sad for the girl in the white nightdress who thought shaking meant failure, and for the boy rubbing his sleeve because he thought her fear meant rejection. Neither of them had words such as boundaries, arousal, or anatomy. They had duty, shame, and guessing. Helen says, "Your body was protecting you," and I carried that sentence home like a bowl filled to the rim. That's the thing nobody tells you. Sometimes learning the truth does not free you at once. Sometimes it gives your grief a name. What I mourn most is not one night. It is the other night we might have had if someone had told us to slow down, to ask, to laugh, to stop, to begin again. I grieve the chance for tenderness without fear. I try explaining this to a woman at a senior center, and she says, "Well, people were different then," while tearing a packet of sugar into her tea. The paper gives a sharp rip. I know she means no harm, but the words leave me standing between two worlds. In one, the silence was called modesty. In the other, people think silence was simply old-fashioned. Neither world understands how it lived in our muscles, our marriages, even the way women folded towels. I go home and sit beside Eli's empty chair, the maple rocker with one pale arm from years of his hand resting there. I place my fingers on that worn wood and miss him terribly. And I miss parts of the place that taught us to be quiet. I miss horses at dawn, their breath rising white beyond the barn, while leather harness rings tapped against the wall. I miss bread from a wood oven, the bottom crust almost black, butter melting into the knife marks before the loaf reached the table. I miss my grandmother's hands when she prayed, one thumb bent from an old break, her nails rimmed with garden soil no matter how hard she scrubbed. Those gifts are real. The work taught me patience. The seasons taught me to notice. The women taught me how to carry a meal into a house where grief had made everyone forget hunger. I am homesick for a place that hurt me. There is no neater way to say it. The harm was silence dressed as holiness. 5 words. Still, beauty and harm can sleep beneath the same quilt, eat from the same bowl, and sing the same hymn. I do not have to burn every good memory to tell the truth about the bad ones. Now I teach my granddaughters the names of things when they ask. I tell them a question is not disrespect. I tell my grandsons that tenderness is not mind reading. Sometimes I still defend the women who could not teach me what they had never been taught themselves. Mama loved me. Miriam loved me. Even Aunt Lena, with her hard mouth and soft hands, believed silence kept us safe. I can hold their love without passing on their fear. That is the choice I make now, one plain word at a time. If you grew up somewhere your own body was kept from you like something dangerous, I see you. If you learned duty before you learned choice, I see you. You may still love the people who failed you, and that does not make your hurt less true. You may miss the food, the songs, the smell of rain on a lane you can no longer walk without shaking. You survived something. Surviving is enough. You are not broken because your body remembers what your mouth was never allowed to say. You are not cruel for naming it now. And you are not faithless for wishing the people you loved had known better. To the one still inside, your questions are real, even when you whisper them only to yourself. To the one who left, missing home does not mean leaving was a mistake. To the one thinking about leaving, you do not have to solve your whole life tonight. To the one lying beside a spouse, and only now understanding why your body goes still, you deserve patience and clear words. To the one who recognized herself a few minutes ago, breathe before you decide what comes next. There is no prize for rushing your own truth. Wherever you are in this, I see you, and you are not alone. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you felt listening to this, or tell me the moment that made something in your own life click into place. There is so much more I have not said yet. I am just getting started. There are stories I have not been brave enough to tell, but I am getting closer. Subscribe to Rebecca Amish Home if you want to stay for those stories, because this is where we name the things silence tried to bury without throwing away every good thing we once loved. And to the members and Super Chat family, you are the reason the next story gets told. If you want to be part of that, the door is always open. I am 83 now, and I no longer confuse quiet with peace. You were always worthy of gentle truth.